Two title fights this weekend, and we're here to break them down for you. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Stay Weighed In YouTube channel. My name's Abbas. I'm joined with my man Ray. How you doing?
Yes, the man, just here powering through the week. Hump day, as some like to call it, but hay fever's kicking both our asses. So
Literally same thing, man. The hay fever's just got to us. But with that being said, we are here, like I said, powering through. And the first fight we're going to talk about is something that we might need to power through a little bit. And that's because Lawrence Okolie is facing Chris Billam Smith for the WBO World Cruiserweight Title. I want to talk about the champion first. We discussed a bit off air that Lawrence Okolie is in that little bracket where we don't really care for him too much. We might be getting a bit bored of him, or people are just not talking about him too much. And I want to get your views on that because obviously Boxer picked him up. What's your feeling towards Okolie right now, and also the transition for him there?
you gotta respect the fact that after his last fight, even though it wasn't the greatest of fights, wasn't the most entertaining to watch, it is not the quickest turnaround, but a bit of a quick turnaround. And the fact that Chris Billam Smith is taking this at Bournemouth Stadium is going to be a big fight. I do feel like Boxer dropped the ball because there's other worldweight champions out there, which I feel like they should have got the UK guys to collect the belt and do bigger fights as unifications. But they put all their money into, these cruiserweights, whether it be Reactpour, Okolie, or CBS, Billam Smith. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes down. And with Lawrence, it's like he needs an emphatic victory. If he wins, he needs it to be emphatic or war, because he's getting to the point where we spoke about before, where there is you love someone, you hate someone, people are still going to watch. Do not enter the danger zone of I don't care. And Lawrence is scarily approaching that point of if he fights, I do not care. And I don't want that for my guy.
I was going to say then, you touched on an emphatic performance. Last two fights have been decision victories. Does it have to be a knockout, or does it just have to be one of them fights where, similar to how we saw earlier on in the year with Better BF and Anthony Joshua, it was a slugfest and everyone was actually entertained and enthralled by it, regardless of the result? Which would be more entertaining for people, the knockout or a back and forth type of fight that may go all 12 rounds?
I think that it will be a situation where it needs to be. I know him as a fighter, he doesn't like engaging in wars. Fair enough. And to be fair, I get long-term health, all of that stuff. Obviously, you're in your faculties when you're older. If that's the case, then you need to go out there and deliver on this knockout, because you are getting to the point where you've got money behind you and you don't, like I said, you don't want to be the guy that no one cares to watch. You don't want it to be like, oh, yeah, Lawrence is fighting and whatever, just tell me the result. You don't want to be that guy. And if I've got any money on this, I bet Boxer are now at the point where they're thinking to themselves, they want CBS to win. Because for the fact that they are doing this in a stadium for Chris Billam Smith, if he wins this, it is going to be big for Boxer. It's going to be big for CBS. And I feel like then they'll do a big unification fight, because they've also got Reactpour in the books. And I think that's the fight that they really want, truly, is CBS versus Reactpour, when both of them have world titles and make a big unification fight in the UK.
I was going to say, would you not say Okolie Reactpour has a bit more hype to it, or would you say CBS and Reactpour does once both become champions?
Depending on how the fight goes, if CBS gets a convincing victory and he's got a whole sea behind him and he's doing stadium fights, CBS becomes the guy. He gets the big rub, as they say in wrestling. He becomes the guy. And if CBS becomes the guy, Lawrence will be in no man's land.
I was going to say, talking about the challenger, you alluded to it already, and I think Boxer confirmed, again, I'm paraphrasing to a point, but I believe this is the biggest sporting event held at Bournemouth Stadium outside of football. So the first thing I'll probably say, are you surprised that it's held in Bournemouth, favouring the contender rather than the champ itself in this particular occasion?
Yes and no, but only because obviously I think the case was that was always the plan. And they were looking for a different world champion to fit in. I know other than Lawrence, the other three world champions, one is French, is Australian, and the other is Badu Jack, who is Swedish nationality. But yeah. So either way, I think what they wanted initially was one of the other champions. Obviously, for whatever reason, that's not help. That's not, worked out for them. So Lawrence coming in is more of a thing of, it's like he's, as bad as it sounds, Lawrence is a filler, but because he's a champion, it works. It's a good story because like Lawrence redemption story, if you can do it. If Chris does it, then a star is born from the unsuspecting city of Bournemouth.
I was going to say that for both guys into this fight, what needs to happen for them to come out on top? Because you talked about how Okolie doesn't really like to engage in wars, and then we got Chris fighting in his hometown. Is an added element of pressure there. Like, what do both guys need to do for this fight to be like, okay, one it's success, but for both guys to be able to win it each way?
This is where it gets tricky because Lawrence bread and butter is the hold and uses leverage, and it's not the most exciting fight. But guess what? He wins, he becomes world champion. Is what it is. But the interesting factor of this is both of them were training partners less than a year ago. Obviously, Lawrence had this whole thing with matching, but he also changed stable mates. He's going to Sugar Hill, I believe now, but he's also based in the UAE. Chris Billam Smith is still with Shane McGuigan, and they might know, Shane helped Lawrence get over the hump, ironically, when Lawrence was known as that guy that just used to hug and everything. Shane McGuigan helped him get over that and become the knockout artist for a brief while, and now he's reverted back to type. So I think now the most important thing is how is CBS and McGuigan going to take advantage of what they know? Two, can they? Because sometimes you can know what someone's going to do. It doesn't mean you can stop them. And three, has Lawrence evolved from that? And the fourth point, has CBS evolved? Because he was in a good war with Isaac Chamberlain. Was it last year or early this year? Basically, in his previous fight, he was in a very impressive fight. And I think that's when Boxer realized, if we plan this right, this guy could be a star. And I honestly think now they are banking on CBS. They would favor, let me not say banking.
Yeah.
They would favor Chris Billam Smith winning if Lawrence is just going to keep on reverting back to type and fighting the way that he does.
And then sitting in the wings to a point, obviously, Riakpo, we still need him to have a belt to make that fight just that little bit more valued. If he's sitting there watching both guys, what type of outcome is he hoping for? Because like you've alluded to, and I think a lot of people already can see the writing there. If Riakpo takes a belt, you've kind of got that mega fight there in terms of British fighters, unification, etc. Who would he be hoping for to particularly fight?
I think it's just going to be a case of, there's a story behind either. If it's Okolie, then he's going to be the guy that's going to be saying, I'm going to rid everyone of this boring fighter. And then if it's Chris Billam Smith, if I remember correctly, he has history with Chris Billam Smith as well. So yeah, so he beat Chris Billam Smith before. So even though it was a split decision, but I feel like they can build it up and be like, okay, well, lost to Chris Billam Smith before. I mean, Chris Billam Smith lost before. Now they're both meeting at a time where they're both improved, both potentially world champions. And I think there's stories to build. And Riakpo is a guy that I feel like in an A and B fight, C might get the most leverage, which is ironic, but we'll find out.
One thing I will say is, I know you mentioned about how this fight came out, but considering this weekend and the weather and where it's held, I feel like Bournemouth just is that perfect spot. You got the sea, the sunshine, the beach. It will be a good occasion. What do boxing need for this event to be a success here?
Do you know what's funny? It's looking like a quiet success because if I recall, the venue and the events nearly sold out. So I think that's a win in itself. Obviously, production-wise, I don't know how much money goes into that, and it's not a pay-per-view, but I think it can be a big win Saturday evening, big stadium fight. You know, prime time. I know that all the other, you got Mickey Conlon fighting for a world title, and you've also got Lara Woods fighting for a world title.
Actually changed the Conlon fight to 9
Yeah,
o'clock.
and they're all gonna coordinate so that it's in good timing. So I got a feeling. Wait, so what time would that make is the Okolie's
I think that will probably go at 10, and then Laura Wood might switch to 11 because
11's a bit too late. I was about to say. And I've been to Nottingham before. Well, no, it's in Manchester. What's the curfew like out there? Because you know certain places it's like
I don't
they've
think
got a curfew, and
much,
I don't think this event's big enough for them to be paying the curfew price. No disrespect.
I don't think there is much on an event, but I'd say I would expect it to be more on the later side of 10 o'clock. Just like how with Katie Taylor, she started quite late last week.
Yeah,
Dublin.
but that's what I'm saying though. But Katie Taylor's different because that is the big event, whereas this one, I got a feeling someone's gonna be starting their main event at 8 p.m. and I got a feeling it might be this fight.
Okay.
Yeah,
But so
we'll
yeah,
see.
just quick predictions then before we move on to the second fight that we're going to talk about. What do you see happening in this particular fight?
Do you know what? As bad as this sounds, I think Okolie wins, but I would actually want Chris Billam Smith to win.
I'm kind of with you. I feel like there's just an element of what we expect from Okolie to do and to get the job done. It's not going to be pretty, like you said, but it will be effective.
Do you know what I would want? Why I'd want Chris Billam Smith to win? Only to see if it lights up a fire under Okolie to like come back stronger and a better version of himself.
No,
That's the only reason. And to be fair, do you know what? I honestly just want to see how Chris Billam Smith as a champion, how Sky Sports and Boxer make of that situation, because I feel like that would be a very good way to bring back big time welterweight, cruiserweight boxing. So, and yeah, like I'm even I've looked at the stadium and it's mostly nearly sold out. So kudos to them.
Kudos to them.
I'm interested to see how it goes down.
And I think the best bit is, like you said, it's not pay-per-view. So if you've got the Sky subscription, it's there for you.
That's what you need sometimes. It's not, you can't always do pay-per-view too early. Sometimes you need that good like
exposure. Just there.
Yeah, just normal subscription TV, just to watch something and be like, okay, this is going to be available for everyone to see. Because sometimes you might just be flicking through the channels. Obviously, there's no Prem football on Saturday, so you might be flicking through the channels, and then you're like, oh, rah, like this fight goes down.
I always did this.
And if the production's right, then it can be a good thing.